It's the Sports Peninsula podcast. Coming up, the Detroit Lions traveled to Southern California and defeated the Los Angeles Chargers 41-38 on a last-second Riley Patterson field goal. The 7-2 Lions now come home to Ford Field to face division rivals, the Chicago Bears, led by the returning Justin Fields. We'll talk about the win in LA and what the keys to victory will be this Sunday against the Bears. Now, here is your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is Dave Drzinski. Drew, it is Thursday, November 15th, and it feels good to win. The 7-2 Detroit Lions, I'm going to repeat that, 7-2 Detroit Lions just defeated the Los Angeles Chargers 41-38, and here to talk about that and more, our first Youper, Brad Harrison. Youper, Brad, welcome back.
Oh, thanks, Drew. I want to lift up our hunters in the UP opening day. We're recording here on Wednesday, November 15th. So for all our listeners in the hunting blind, keep one ear open so you don't get, so that big buck doesn't get past you.
Yes, exactly. And thanks for correcting me. I said it was Thursday. It's wishful thinking. I want it to be Sunday because we want to take on the Chicago Bears. And also joining us is Detroit's finest, Justin Miracle. Welcome back, Justin. How you doing?
Doing good. Sunday was great. Great experience down at Ford Field watching Metallica, and as Riley Patterson hit that game-winning field goal, the crowd erupted. So that was a double dose of just awesomeness that day. So one that I'll never forget.
That is really cool. That is really cool. I'm stressing the 7-2 record because, guys, even the 91 Lions, they were 6-2. And then they lost a couple in a row, but then went 6-4 before they rattled off 6 straight wins to close that season out. This is a 7-2 Detroit Lions. This is like uncharted waters, at least for us as Lions fans. But it's exciting stuff, and we're going to talk about that and more. But guys, first impression on this one overall, man. We all picked the Lions to win, including Coach Shield. We couldn't join us this week. We'll be looking forward to hearing him next week. But we all thought it would be a 3 to 7 point game, but I don't think any of us thought anyone was going to go over 30 in this one. And oh boy, this became a shootout. And how appropriate out west, right? Like a shootout at the OK Corral, or whatever you want to call it. But man, good to win. Good feeling to win. And let's get going, guys, and let's talk about it in depth. First, let's talk about Jared Goff. Brad, I will start with you, man. 122.4 QBR rating in this one. He was lights out in this one. Talk about his performance.
And the highest rated quarterback in the NFL to date for the season. I mean, this is not anything that's just bubbled up for one game. This is something that we're growing accustomed to. So the combination of his understanding of Ben Johnson's offense and along with his head coach's what did he call Dan Campbell's at the post-game press conference?
Oh, geez.
His fourth down calls. Oh my goodness. It's a great combination that's leading to tremendous success here for the Honolulu Blue and Silver Detroit Lions.
Justin, your thoughts on Jared Goff's performance in this one, man? I know he did miss 10 passes, but pretty solid.
I would say it was a masterful performance, on the road, in SoFi Stadium against, Justin Herbert and Los Angeles Chargers. That defense is, no slouch either, with Khalil Mack and Bosa and Derwin James and Asante Samuel Jr. I mean, they just have playmakers all over the field. And for him to pick apart the Los Angeles Chargers defense was incredible to watch. And like Brad just said, I think we saw the flip from last week to this week with Ben Johnson's, creativity and playbook and whatnot. 2 weeks, sorry. But you really saw just a lot of, very good plays that Jared Goff was comfortable running, and you could tell he has command and complete control of the offense, getting guys, lined up where they need to be, motioning where they need to be, and of course making the throws. So I thought it was great.
He was, and you bring up Ben Johnson, like in the Raider game on Monday night game. We talked about they got a little too cute with their play calling, there's a difference between creative and cute. And against the Chargers, they were creative, and then they also went to the well. They were able to run the ball effectively. They pretty much did whatever they wanted to do on offense. And go figure, the offensive line was pretty much back. The band was back together again. I know Big V's out, and I know he's on IR again for at least, I think it was at least 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not going to be counting on him to make significant impact going forward. But Graham Glasgow's been outstanding. Jonah Jackson was back. Frank the Tank, of course, he was in, and then the bookends, right? Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell, they were outstanding. And no surprise, you get David Montgomery back, and good things can happen. And now that Jahmyr Gibbs is showing what he can do, you bring Montgomery back. What a 1-2 punch this is. Brad, talk about David Montgomery. I know 116 yards on 12 carries. One of those, that touchdown, 75-yard touchdown. Talk about what you saw there.
Yeah, I mean, tremendous story that came out of that play call when they didn't have the right personnel on the field for the call that they broke the huddle with. And talk about Jared Goff being cool. You know, he instead of calling a timeout or running a play that wasn't going to work, he audibled to a play that went for 75 yards and a touchdown. And for Montgomery, he was excited just to be on that field. And there's healthy competition there, it seems like. Jahmyr and him are going to challenge each other in a good way to perform. And you hear it on the sidelines and you see it on the field. So I love the way he puts his foot in the ground and just goes forward, right? Like he's always going forward. And so, man, I don't know how many we're going to see going forward for 75 yards, but that sure was a treat.
Yeah, I mean, even if you take that away, Justin, he still had 11 carries for 41 yards, nearly 4 yards a carry, and then of course the big one. But David Montgomery just seems to be money in the bank, and his first game back from the rib injury, they monitored his carries and what have you, but a pretty effective game for David Montgomery. What did you see?
Yeah, I'll echo what Brad was saying. He's just a hard, fast, aggressive runner. And, him and Jahmyr on the sidelines talking it up, and Montgomery telling Jahmyr, I can't let you have all the fun. I want to get in on this too with yards and touchdowns and whatnot. But I will say this. Yes, we can win. And, we've proven that without David Montgomery. But this team is a whole different beast when David Montgomery is in the lineup. I mean, I believe, what was it, third or fourth down play where he ran like a delayed draw to Montgomery and got the first down. And then you're seeing like the linemen, they love blocking, for him and Gibbs. And on one of the plays, he was like a half yard shy, and the whole offensive line just shoved him right across, pulling him across. So when he's in that backfield, he can make some things happen. Just hard running. Just never quits. And, you like to see that because, of course, that sets up the pass for Jared Goff and company. So it makes it a little bit easier for our, receivers and whatnot. And then you have J-Mo that was right alongside him throwing that big block, and just racing up there, cutting off the Chargers defender on that 75-yard touchdown run. So that was just great to see. That great call, too, by Jim Nantz on that play. I love this guy. He was a great signing. I loved him when he was a Chicago Bear, but I'm glad he's a Detroit Lion.
Yeah, and you made a point by how much the line likes blocking for him, and really the whole backfield. If you think about Montgomery, Gibbs, and Reynolds, pretty similar in the sense that they hit the hole quick and they hit the hole hard. They're north and south runners. I mean, Gibbs is pretty dynamic, but he's pretty north and south as well. So yeah, it's a different kind of good that we're used to seeing. Barry Sanders, obviously they broke, guy created Barry Sanders and broke the mold. That was that. But we're used to some dancing and even DeAndre Swift was pretty dynamic. It was the yin to Jamal Williams yang. But this year it's straightforward, quick, hit the hole hard, break tackles, make plays. And I'll stick with you, Justin. Talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. He had 14 carries. So, I mean, he only had a couple extra carries. He had 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. Talk about his performance.
Yeah, just electric. And we saw the same stuff when we were doing our, NFL draft preview when Jameer Gibbs was a running back at Alabama. You're seeing the same type of stuff from him. He really hits the hole hard. He can stop on a dime. He can, catch the ball as well. But, don't be fooled by his, quote unquote small stature. He packs a punch. He does not go down. There was a couple of those runs there where, the refs blew the whistle and he's still not down. You got 3 or 4 Chargers that were still trying to, tackle him to the ground. He does not go down. So, just really great. I love Ben Johnson, getting him going, getting those touchdowns. That ups his confidence, especially as a rookie. And you were taking the 12th pick overall. There's still some criticism, to that pick. Why? I don't know. But, I guess we're fine with it, right?
You know what? Yeah. That's as succinctly as I can put it. I've been pretty critical of fans that were running their mouths about that, and they've been pretty quiet overall. But to your point, there's still some people chirping. And honestly, there's some people that'll never be happy unless their team wins the championship or the Super Bowl in this case. And they'll be right back to being miserable the next week. But they're just loud and demonstrative about it. Let's enjoy the ride, fellas. I think we have. This has been a beautiful season. Brad, talk about Jameer Gibbs. Has he exceeded your expectations as the 12th overall pick this year?
Well, he's exceeded my expectations because he's doing more than the staff let on at the beginning of the year, right? We were talking about gadget plays, and we were talking about, getting him open and getting him in space. It kind of felt like, I don't know, the things we used to do with Javid Best, or some of those guys in the history where, it was just nothing but speed. But this is speed and power. He's willing to get his nose in there and fall forward and move the pile. So I do think he's beating my expectations because I was just following what the staff said he was going to be. And yeah, for him to be splitting carries or getting, like, as you said, 2 more carries than Monty had on Sunday, this is quicker than I thought it would go. But let's not forget where he's coming from. I mean, playing at Alabama, that means something. And excelling in the SEC means something. So, fortunate to have him.
Yeah, very, very pleased with his performance. And he caught 3 passes for another 35 yards. His average yards from scrimmage as a rookie is third to only Billy Sims in 1980. I just love saying that. And then Barry Sanders in 1989. So Sims actually averaged more yards from scrimmage in his rookie year than Barry did in his rookie year. And Jameer Gibbs is not a distant third. He's in that mix. I think he's at 94. He's averaging 94, 95 yards a game from scrimmage. And Gibbs started slowly, where if you think about Billy Sims was the bell cow from day one. Barry held out for all of his all camp, and he did play that first game, but he didn't even see any preseason action. So I think he only had like 70 yards on like 16 carries. I'm just going off the top of my head because it's so there. And you, Brad, and I know this. it's there. But Barry Sanders, obviously the greatest, but Jameer Gibbs having a hell of a rookie season.
Again, know what else? You know what else is here? What'll make you feel old?
What's that?
It was 40 years ago yesterday when Billy Sims did the karate kick against the Houston Oilers. 40 years ago.
Man, I remember that game.
We're not that old, Drew. Come on.
Yeah,
I remember it.
That the Houston Oilers in the Astrodome, and the Lions lost the game. And I remember Billy was because that's his hometown. He's from Houston. He trashed this whole table full of Gatorade, man. And they were all, man, he was mad. He wanted that game bad. And then, of course, the Lions end up winning the NFC Central that year and narrowly almost beat the 49ers in that playoff game. I don't want to wax poetic anymore or nostalgic. Okay, it is what it is. But yeah, that was you can see that highlight all over YouTube. It's everywhere. And it's fun. By the way, when you go on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, folks. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Subscribe. We need you. We want to have you listening. We want your feedback. We want your comments. Like the videos. and get notifications, we'll be more than happy. We put content out there every week. Justin, let's jump to the receiving core, because Jared, as good as Jared Goff is, and as great as he was really on Sunday, you got to have great receivers and great guys catching the football. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, my goodness, 8 catches, 156 yards and a touchdown. Talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What more can be said? I mean, this guy, since he's arrived, in Detroit, has just been a gem. Good personality, great attitude, does everything and more that you expect him to do on the football field. He was electric. He could not be stopped. Those crossing patterns and routes, no one can stop it. He's that good, and I believe he had a long catch of 46 yards. He had 9 targets overall. This is Goff's guy. This is his main guy. And, he's just automatic. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to fight for those, tough yards. And he's going to get yards too. It's coming. You just can't stop it. Oh, and by the way, we had him in the backfield, to top it all off, So this guy is just a football player's Swiss Army knife and a coach's dream, because you can utilize him in so many different ways, as you saw on Sunday against the Chargers. So I just can't say enough good things about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I hope he stays a Detroit Lion forever. And I hope Brad Holmes is hopefully working on an extension, and, they get that done, because this guy right here is incredible. His work ethic and his on-field prowess, I would say, is like Jerry Rice. Just he's got that demeanor. He's got that, I want to prove to you every single game. And he's already good. I think he's arrived. But he wants to show you each and every game, hey, I could do better. Don't forget about me, because he still remembers all those receivers that were taken before him.
Yes, he does. And Brad Holmes, definitely get this man a contract extension, because I know you want that, Brad Harrison. I'm not going to – Calvin Johnson is the greatest receiver in Lions history, in my view. And he's a totally different player. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is so good. But I think, and Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Justin hit it. His work ethic and his attitude really is the foundation of this team. This is how they do business every week. And if you want to look at an example of a player who really accentuates that, so to speak, that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Talk about his performance.
Well, we're 8 games into this season.
9.
He's got 821 yards.
Oh, he's only played 8 though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He only played 8. My fault. I was looking at his stats, but yeah, he's played 8 games. We got 821 yards, and just like we talked about Billy Sims a few moments ago, this is what we're going to be talking about in 40 years from now. We're going to be talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown and what he did as a Detroit Lion. I mean, he's that guy who is this is one for the history books. So can't say enough. So glad he's a Detroit Lion, and I can't imagine any scenario where he's on a different roster. Like Brad Holmes will figure this out.
Yeah, he's too good and too good in the locker room to let him go. And it's funny, Justin, I don't know, you remember we had him pretty much slotted in as a day 3 guy, 4th round guy, and really, I know I did several mocks where I had him going to the Lions. I just didn't expect this. I thought the Lions were going to get a 600 to 700 yard guy, maybe, hopefully a number 2, but definitely a number 3, and really felt good about that. Did not expect him to be a top 10 talent, but he is a legit top 10 talent. He's a special player. There's no doubt about that. Hey guys, let's talk about a special rookie here. Rookie tight end Sam Laporta. Didn't do anything spectacular, but again, Brad, 4 catches, 40 yards, rock solid, rock steady. I think he's number 6 this year, still in yardage for tight ends, and that's pretty impressive for a rookie. Talk about Sam Laporta.
Well, with what, roughly a minute and a half to go, 4th and 2, and that's where Jared went.
Yeah, money.
I mean that to a rookie with that pressure, and he performed. So, once again, I mean, I think this, if what we're seeing is what he is into the future, like this is a keystone to this offense for well into 2 contracts. So a long time. And kind of quiet leading up to the end of the game. And but there he was when we needed that. So I don't think like we're seeing the best Sam Laporta either. This ceiling is high. I mean, he's performing well above what a rookie tight end should be doing, but we're going to see a better Sam Laporta. That's hard to imagine, right?
I think you're right. And that's really, I mean, opposing defenses, that's kind of scary because he's not, you're keying on St. Brown, you're keying on that running game. You're worried about Goff. But man, I mean, you don't have enough guys to account for a guy like Sam Laporta and Justin. That's a great point by Brad, and he brought up that 4th and 2 catch. That was a big play in the fourth quarter. Talk about that.
Yeah, for Jared Goff to trust a rookie tight end, you're on the road, you're trying to convert a 4th down, 4th and 2, 4th and short, and you go to the rookie, like you said, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Reynolds out there, you got some veteran guys that you could probably go to over Laporta, but he's choosing Laporta. So I would say, aside from Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff's safety valve is Sam Laporta. And like Brad just said, he's getting better. His ceiling is extremely high. If you even look at some of the play schemes and concepts, I know Brian Boldinger loves to go over. He does a film review of the Lions every week, and he raves about Sam Laporta. And not only with his catching ability, he's raving about his blocking and the play concepts that they're throwing at this young guy, and he's picking that up as a rookie. I mean, this stuff is not easy, guys. I mean, if it were that easy, there'd be a lot of tight ends in the league that are, killing it, and they're not. It's only a short list, and Sam Laporta's on it as a rookie tight end. So I like what Brad's saying. He's just going to get better, and that is, like he said, it's really scary because we're already seeing a rookie that's just outperforming our expectations, my expectations certainly. But yeah, once he puts it all together, wow. I mean, we could be hopefully entering that Kelsey territory, that Gronkowski territory, if I will.
Yeah, and those are great points, guys, and that's what going to make life very difficult for Brad Holmes in the next couple of years. Again, we're going to enjoy this year, but there's going to be some tough. And it is what it is. There's going to be some tough financial decisions that are going to have to be made, and they're going to have to gamble on the fact that they're going to have to pay up to some guys, and they may have to bite the bullet and let some guys go because they won't be able to afford them, not because they want to. And that's where being really good in the draft room. And that's why, guys, viewers at home, I mean, that's why you don't always make trades and trade draft capital. You got to be careful with that. They're trying to build something here. And this team's, let's face it, this team is, in my view, good enough to play with anybody. I'm not saying they're going to come out of the NFC yet, but I would say that the Detroit Lions shouldn't be afraid to play anybody in this conference or in this league. But again, they've shown they need to play their A+ game to beat the really good teams. And I think that's kind of the concern on this game, as good as the offense was, and we'll get to it. There were some struggles on defense, but we're not done talking offense yet because there's some other guys we need to talk about. One of them was Khalif Raymond. He only caught a couple catches, Justin, but 46 yards. I mean, that's some good production out of a couple catches. Talk about Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, I believe last time that I was on the podcast, I highlighted Khalif Raymond because I labeled him as Mr. Reliable, and there he is. Like you said, he only had a couple catches, 46 yards, but those 2 catches, I thought were, pretty crucial to the team's success and the overall score of this game. Like I said, I think opposing defense just kind of forget about him. He gets lost in the shuffle. Yes, he returns punts. They know that, but then he ends up showing up in these packages, and you just kind of forget about him because you're keying on St. Brown. Now, oh, crap, we got to key in on Laporta. Hey, is Gibbs out there? We got to key in. Oh, man, we forgot Raymond's out there, and he's streaking down the sideline. So, I love his attitude. He's very enthusiastic, and he's a damn good receiver. I'll go ahead and say it. He's really good. So when we need him the most, and we are going to need him, down the stretch and hopefully in the playoffs, this guy will come up huge for us. Mark my words.
That's a great point. I mean, and Brad, teams can't just put 6 in the box and think they're going to stop the Lions' run game. That ain't happening. You can try to cheat towards St. Brown, but now you've got single coverage on Laporte, you've got single coverage on Khalif Raymond and John and Reynolds. Makes life very difficult for opposing defensive coordinators. Talk about Khalif Raymond though, and how you feel about his performance from Sunday.
No, I mean, making the most out of the limited snaps that he gets. And I don't think there's a bunch of why can't I be out there more thoughts running through his head. I think it's when he gets on there, he's going to make a difference. And it shows with the production. So he just fits. He absolutely fits on this roster, and he got paid. They stepped up and gave him a multi-year contract to do what he's doing. And from where he came from. So, I think this is an example of, if you're a football player and you're looking for a spot on a roster, like, you can get a reward in Detroit. You don't need to be the second pick overall to get rewarded in Detroit, or the first round draft pick. Yeah. You can work your tail off and get rewarded with a contract. And Raymond is just the example that this staff can turn to and say, hey, no, put in the work. This is what could happen.
Yeah, great points, guys. It's just so it's really a marvel to talk when you just by mentioning the names. And I rattle them off there. It's like, who are you going? You can't really double cover anybody. You can try, but someone's going to get you. And I didn't even mention Jamison Williams. You've got to respect his speed. At the very least, you've got to respect the speed. I like that JMO has been doing other things well. Then you mentioned the block on the Montgomery touchdown. That was huge. We've talked about it in our Chalk Talk segments. Jamison Williams has been doing a really nice job blocking downfield. And that's the dirty work that diva receivers don't do. You think OBJ's blocking downfield? No. Even the great Randy Moss, and he openly admitted, if he knew the ball wasn't coming to him, there were times he didn't even get off the line. He just stood there.
Yeah, he was not fond of blocking. He's said that many times.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. You know what you're getting out of, there's players that are like that, and they've been very successful. He's got a gold jacket. But I like that Jamison Williams is willing to do the dirty work. He has the skill set that we hope after a good next second half of the season, he's going to get a taste of some playoff football. Maybe by then we'll start seeing even more of it. I think we're already starting to see a little bit more of it. So encouraged by Jamison Williams as well. But we got to talk about Brock Wright. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I'm not crazy here. I mean, I know Brock Wright's not going to be mentioned in the Kelsey Gronkowski discussions like you brought up, Brad. We know that. But the guy's done a hell of a job blocking all year in spite of what some people have been observing. I mean, I don't think Brock Wright's been a bad blocker, but Brock Wright's been really good as a blocker. But, man, he had a big, big catch yesterday, Justin. On Sunday, talk about that, the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, you're thinking, hey, it's probably going to be Laporta here. And lo and behold, who's, crossing the pylon there and breaking the plane of the end zone? It's Brock Wright. And that's no surprise to me. I've been loving this guy ever since he made his debut against the Los Angeles Rams as a Detroit Lion, getting his feet wet. And then last season, catching that touchdown pass against the New York Jets, going down the sidelines. So he's sneaky good. He's another guy that you kind of forget about. And yeah, they use him primarily as a blocker, but he's got good hands. And that was evident of that, beautiful throw by Jared Goff, right over the defender's helmets into the hands of Brock Wright. This is another guy that you could draw up certain plays and packages for to receive the football, down in the red zone or get you a key first down. So I love the guy. That's why Holmes and company brought him in. He's got that Detroit Lions, grit to him, as they say. So you could stick him in there as well, when Laporta needs a break, or just to switch it up on defenses and hopefully catch him sleeping, which I think we did on that play.
Yeah, I think very good point. Very good point. I think exactly. You're looking Laporta. You're not looking Brock right there, and nobody picked him up, and it was a beautiful thing. Brad, we like guys like Brock Wright. They bring that grit, like Justin said. He's wearing number 89. I think there was another tight end in Detroit that wore 89. Let's talk about Brock Wright a little bit, though.
Yeah, Dan Campbell reincarnate. Well, the play design, right? Like the kid had to make the catch. The kid had to run the route. The pop pass is something that I recall from my son's middle school football days. We'd score on that every time, and it was just all of it is working. It's just all working, and all 11 have to make the play, and he was just the guy that made the catch and ran the route. And I don't bet there wasn't anybody that was surprised that happened, that was on that, on that sideline. They were elated it happened, but there was nobody that was surprised. That was supposed to happen. And Brock Wright did his job. And I can't wait for the next play when he does his job.
I agree with you guys. I agree with you guys. Oh yeah, it's coming. We waxed poetic and we were tossing roses. I know you've said that many times. We're throwing a lot of roses this year, but there was some concern, guys. And again, this is a Chargers team. I know they're 4-5 now, but this is a really good football team. And Justin, you rattled off some names on that defensive side of the football. I mean, but on offense, I mean, a lot of people forget about Justin Herbert because Burrow gets a lot of credit. Everyone wants Tagovailoa to succeed. And when he's healthy, he's great when he's healthy. And of course, Jalen Hurts has been outstanding. But Justin Herbert has been very quietly on an off-injured Chargers team. But Justin Herbert has put up some phenomenal stats. He's having a great year this year, but guys, he did whatever he wanted to do, and he did it with Keenan Allen for the most part. Keenan Allen at over 160 yards. I'll start with you, Justin. Talk about what the Lions need to do to correct things, because Justin Herbert threw at will.
Yes, he did. And let me just start, this bit off by, speaking to fellow Lions fans or NFL fans. Yeah, the Lions need to clean up a lot on defense. I get that. But when you look at this Chargers team on offensive side of the football, like you just said, Dave, Justin Herbert, I think, is one of the best passers in the National Football League. He throws it on a rope, laser, dime, whatever you want to call it. He finds his receivers well. Keenan Allen, one of the best, wide receivers, I believe, in the game. Very good catching ability. Very good just overall receiver. Austin Eckler, the running back, who does it all. He's like a human bowling ball coming at you, and he's very strong, athletic. He can catch the ball as well. The tight end, Gerald Everett, he used to be on the Seattle Seahawks. He's kind of found, resurgence in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert. It's just incredible. So you have all these guys that, just make plays. So that's very tough for any defense to combat that. But moving forward, I do believe some things need to change with Aaron Glenn and the defensive scheme. I really didn't like the soft coverage that we had on the receivers, and I know that was probably due in part to their playmaking ability and the big body receivers and the tight end. Obviously, we've been talking about the pass rush, which has been kind of non-existent. We're like almost right there, but I don't think we recorded any sacks on Sunday. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We didn't.
Hutchinson was close on a few of them. But yeah, moving forward, I believe schematically it needs to get upgraded before we hit playoff time, because that's the kind of stuff that's going to bite you in the rear end in the playoffs and probably cost you a playoff game.
Yeah, those are good points, Justin. And Brad, I'm curious your thoughts. Though they did blitz a little bit in that game, and they blitzed very effectively against the Raiders. And when the Lions blitz, they don't bring 6 or 7. They'll bring 6 at times, but a lot of times they'll do a zone blitz scheme where they're still only bringing 4, but they might drop Hutchinson back in the pass coverage, and then Anzalone's coming. So they'll do that, and then they'll bring 2. They'll bring 6 total. but they rarely bring 5, or they certainly don't bring the house. But they kind of abandoned that during that game a little bit, and I'm not sure why. But at the end of the day, talk about what you saw, because this team's been still pretty good against the run, but against the pass, at times they've gotten gashed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the inconsistency, we don't know what we're going to get on a Sunday on that defensive side of the ball, as we're watching. I mean, a little nervous, right? When they're out there. But I do want to give LA credit. We took their best shot. Like, that is as good as the LA Chargers can play. And they were laying it out because they knew they had an opponent in their house. They haven't beat a good team. They've beat bad teams. And this was the whatever it is I'm trying to say, stick. They're trying to get to this level.
Yeah, the measuring stick.
Stick. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And it was impressive. It was impressive. The inconsistency is what makes me leery come January, because we've got to be great. I don't know why it flips and flops, but I do know when they don't perform well, Aaron Glenn the next day or the next game figures it out. Like, it's different. The players are making plays. I think there are a few more creative blitzes, etc. What was that game? Hutch was moving around on the line one game earlier this year, and lining up inside, moving. Like, why haven't we seen that again? Maybe
the Chiefs game that comes to mind very quickly, because they were allowing the tackles to get off the line, a half snap early, and line up illegally. Yeah, he was bouncing around in that game a lot.
So, we haven't seen much of that recently. Maybe there's just a confidence in a confidence with the other guys, which we don't see as we review the game film. And you see some guys who were great in the preseason, and you're like, whoa, where are they? What's going on? Charles Harris and Kaminsky, and oh man, Aquara's. There's a gap there, but these are the guys. These are the guys we're rolling with. So, this is on Aaron Glenn, and I don't think, I'm not of the camp where Aaron Glenn can't figure this out. I'm under the camp where they will figure this out, because they've done it in the past. We need a little bit more consistency on that defensive front, and let's get the doggone quarterback down. Oh my man.
Yeah.
Get him down. Just get him down.
They what, the one thing about this team in the past, the Lions have had inconsistent performances, and they've had it this year too. You touched on it already with the defense. The offense, there's been some gains. The Monday night game comes to mind. They kind of struggled on offense. Defense was absolutely stone cold. Mind you, Jimmy Garoppolo versus Justin Herbert. I get it, but that's still a talented Raiders team. Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams come to mind. Hunter Renfrow. That's a good offense, but the defense was stout. They started out decent in this game. The second half, they got kind of shredded, but in this game here, the offense picked it up. The offense was almost. Obviously, they weren't perfect, but it was almost pristine. It was really a beautiful thing to watch that team. And I don't know, guys. I'll get your thoughts. I'll start with you, Justin. I never thought I was tense, but I never felt the Lions didn't have control of this game. And I'm not saying like an iron grip control, but I always felt like the Lions, they were going to be, at the end of the day, they were going to have the ball in their hands, and they were going to be able to dictate what happens. If they were going to lose that game, it was going to be just because they didn't get it done. But it just felt like, to me, watching it, I never felt like the game was ever out of their control. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, and I've been an avid fan, I guess you could say, of Justin Herbert. I selected him on my fantasy team, his rookie season. But if you watch his games, in the LA Chargers in particular, there's really no teams that are out of it. The Chargers could probably score at will and whatnot, but their whole team is just, I don't know, like, they kind of just give you they give you an extra life, if you will, in video game terminology. And that's how I felt in this game. Like, I didn't feel like completely deflated, like, we're not going to get the ball back or we're not going to score, because if you pressure Justin Herbert enough, you don't even need to sack him per se. Just, get in his face or, whatnot. And he will give it up, either interception or like a fumble, or he'll just, make a bad read or a bad throw. So, and that's exactly what happened. Because down the stretch, we did need to get that ball back, and we did end up getting the ball back. So, like how we're just talking here, and I believe still in Aaron Glenn. So you can't completely write Aaron Glenn off, because if you do that, we don't win this game. We're not talking about a game that we won here. We're talking about another SOL, loss, and that didn't happen. So they kind of did figure it out at the end there to get the offensive ball back. So,
yeah, that great point. Brad, how about you? How were you feeling about this game as it was progressing?
Yeah, annoyed a little bit. I'm not a big, track football fan where it just score. I mean, I'm glad we got into a track meet and won. I don't want to get in track meets. I mean, it's not, it's not a recipe for
long-term
sustained success.
Yeah, exactly.
It was good to prove you can win that way, but that's it. Like, we don't need that anymore. But once again, the offense was answered every bell, and I wasn't nervous. I didn't think once that game got underway, I think it was 17-3, or we're winning this game. Yeah, they score, and then we score, and they score, and we score, and they score, and we score, and we were always ahead, and then we got tied, and I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't nervous that this thing was going to unravel and unwind and the Lions couldn't figure it out. I just was annoyed that it was happening the way it was continually. But one of the things that, we need to give coach credit on these fourth downs and going for it and just not, I mean, Nance at the end of that game, and I'm just paraphrasing, but he said something like, I would never do this, but it's the right thing to do. You're in field goal range and you're not going to take the lead because there's a minute something to go and you're 4th and 2, and who would do this,
And that was the right call, because that's exactly what would have happened if we would have kicked that field goal.
We would have lost.
You give someone like Herbert or some of these other big shot quarterbacks, and really like, Burrow or, anyone else, that's a lot of time on the clock, and they can go down the field, kick the field goal, or worse, score. So, yeah, in today's NFL, you kind of need to look at that conversion and go, maybe we should go for it.
In my mind, turned to that game up in Minnesota. I don't know if it was last year or the year prior when Dan didn't go for it.
Yeah.
We missed that field goal, right? Or
I think
we did. Mm-hmm. We did.
And I remember Dan at that podium post-game putting it on himself.
Yep.
And he should have, because he screwed that up.
He deviated from the plan.
He did not screw up last night. He got better.
Yeah, I think we've said it. You guys said it well. This is a very good Chargers offense, no question. It's a good team. That was a good team. It's always fun when you win. That was one of those games where I didn't feel really poorly about the Lions' performance, even the defensive side of it, because hats off. Sometimes you got to tip the cap. I mean, the Chargers are a good team, and it became a slugfest. The Lions, though, for long-term success, their offense is going to have to be able to do this. And honestly, we know they're going to put up 20. They're going to put up at least 20. And the Lions, they're going to need to be able to score at any time when it's needed. And for the most part, they've done that this year. But that defense, even if they're having a game like this where they're playing an offensive team that's really kind of a juggernaut, they're going to have to get a stop at crunch time. That's how they're going to win playoff games. So don't want to put the cart before the horse, but going down, and I know Coach Shield talks about this a lot too. That's gotta get shored up. Let's talk now about the next game here at Ford Field, division rival, the Chicago Bears coming to town. Now I know the Bears are struggling this year, but we also know Justin Fields is going to be playing in this game. And regardless of the fact that the Lions did beat them twice last year, Justin Fields gave them all they could handle. Let's talk about, looking at film, the way the Lions have handled running quarterbacks. You see Hutchinson a lot of times rolling in or twirling inside, trying to make that spin move inside. And he athletically can do that, but you've got to have that contain on the outside, and they have not had that. They didn't have it in that Baltimore game. They didn't really have it in that Seattle game, 2 L's. What do you do to contain Justin Herbert in this one?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough task because I believe in this game, Justin Fields will be more of a threat with his legs than his arm. Could be wrong, coming this Sunday, but I just believe we need to get pressure on him. We need to eat through that O-line on the Chicago Bears and basically make Justin Fields make a decision very, very quickly. What the heck do I do? Am I just going to take off running here, or I need to, throw this ball, very quickly? We need to take away Cole Kmet because he's been quintessentially a Lions killer per se, these past couple seasons. He's a very good tight end. We need to take away Darnell Mooney because he's very fast, got good hands, and of course, DJ Moore. And I know I was asking a lot, but we need to make Justin make very fast decisions because I don't think he's very good. And honestly, I don't think he's on the same page with Matt Eberflus, his coach or his offensive coordinator. I really don't. So, and we'll see how this thumb holds up in this game. So I think if you do those things, we're looking at another Lions victory come Sunday.
Yeah, no, great point. Great point on Fields. Brad, let's talk about how does this offense attack the Bears defense? I think things are a little bit more at ease and in hand, and maybe on that side of the football. But talk about your thoughts.
Well, I think the Bears' strength is their run defense. I think the NFL rankings, they're a top 5 run defense. It's hard to imagine that when you look at the record, but our offense runs off. We need to get the running game established, and that could be tough. That could be tough against Chicago. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I think you're going to have a big. The tight ends are going to have a big part of this offense. Get some of those quick passes. I'd like to see I loved that some of those quick throws to Jamison. Like, they talked about Jameer getting in space. Like, can we get Jamison in space with a quick toss to get him using his speed that way instead of just burning it down the field? So, we might see some creative things for him, for Laporta, for Wright, and maybe getting Jameer outside too. So I'm more cautious about Chicago's defense than I am their offense. I think Justin Fields can run around and gash us like he did last year. But guess what's going to happen in the fourth quarter? That dude is going to be so gassed. Like you can't run for 4 quarters in the NFL. At some point, you have to throw. And he hasn't proven that's his game yet. So don't freak out if he breaks one and scores a touchdown from 45 yards out, because he's got that ability.
Yeah.
But he can't do that all game long. So, I think the pass is going to have to open up the run for the Lions against Chicago.
Definitely agree with that. Yeah, I really I'm leery of Fields for everything you guys have articulated already, and then just the way the Lions have played mobile quarterbacks this year. Although they did a pretty good job against Jordan Love, but again, that's Jordan Love, versus Lamar Jackson. There ain't no comparison. I mean, it's night and day difference. But I agree, Fields is going to have to throw, and that's ultimately what happened last year. You could see the fatigue set in, and let's face it, the Lions, the defensive line, I mean, if anything, they're consistently able to wear down the opposition's offensive line because they can roll 2 entire units out at you. I really would like to see something better schematically, though. If they're going to keep letting Hutchinson go inside like that, whether it's instinctive or planned, not like Coach Sheila said, not many players are given that levity because it's not easy to do. But they got to have contain on fields. We bring up if they're going to be at home, so obviously it's going to be rock and it's going to be tough. Fields hasn't played in a few weeks, so it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment there. But man, I know one thing. Ever since the Chargers moved to LA, and I get it, some of the fans have turned or they're not going to the games because no matter who they're playing, it sounds like it's kind of 50-50. But once again, the Lions fans show out, and it was loud on third downs when the Chargers had the football. I don't know about what you guys felt, but I did definitely, and I think it was mentioned, Jared Goff, the players were commenting like, where are we in Detroit or we in LA? What's going on?
They're calling SoFi Stadium Ford Field West for us.
Man,
there was a lot of Lions fans at SoFi.
It's great to see. I mean, it's Detroit sports fans travel well, especially when things are good. There's no question about that. And I don't care what you can name them. The Red Wings, Tigers, and Lions in particular definitely stand out as far as being out traveling and making an impact on the road. But they're going to be at home. They're playing Chicago, the 3-7 Chicago Bears. But again, this was a team I actually thought, guys. I was more concerned about them in the preseason than I was certainly more than Green Bay. And in even Minnesota, I thought, I know what Minnesota is, but I was a little leery of the Bears. Obviously, they haven't, been able to show it this year, but it's still there's still a lot of football to be played. But I think the Lions have to take care of business here in Ford Field, and they will. But what do you guys think the score is going to be? Brad, I'll start with you.
I mean, maybe Fields breaks one, maybe they get a field goal, 10 points, and we're like a 27 kind of thing. This will not be a track meet game. Aaron Glenn will not repeat that performance. So yeah, 27-10 Lions.
Okay. Justin, what do you got?
Well, like you just said, it's, even if it's just a few weeks, that's a long layoff for a starting NFL quarterback to come back. And I believe that he had, a dislocated thumb.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't expect Justin to be 100%. Yeah, he's going to go. He's going to start. But I think if we get to him, get some hits on him and whatnot, he might not even finish the game, because they have Tyson Bagent, and they're very comfortable with him. So
okay.
I just see total domination from the Lions. The home crowd, this is the anticipation for Thanksgiving, next Thursday against the Packers. So I see it 35-13 Lions.
I've got a 30-17. I agree, Brad. The Fields will probably break one, or something. They're going to make a big play because they've got too much talent not to be honest with you. But yeah, the Lions will subdue them. I think the crowd's going to be a factor. I think they're going to put that pressure on. I think we'll see. My opinion, we'll see some more zone blitzes. I don't think they'll sell out, but they're going to disguise their blitz as well. We may see a 6-man rush at some point, but I think you got to be careful with that, because if you don't get to them, you're in big trouble. But overall, yeah, I think the Lions should win this and win this pretty comfortably, quite frankly. If the Chicago Bears are going to give them fits in Detroit, that's not good because this team's too good to have that happen, quite frankly. And overall, the Lions have taken care of business overall. I mean, they've done some tight games. They've had a couple losses. But really, other than the Ravens game, I don't think even any Lions fan can say they haven't played well in every other game. They've been in every game. They've won most of those games. So let's keep it rolling forward down the field. For Detroit's finest, Justin Merquin, and for the Uper Brad Harrison, I'm Drew. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Again, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and we will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.